Hey, good morning, everyone. We have just had a lovely set of introductions in the live version of the call. If you want to come to the next call, the next in the series, then we'll do the same thing again. So please feel free. Obviously, I don't want to record that because I want to give people space to, be their authentic selves, have the mess in the background, do whatever it is that they want to do without feeling like they're going to be forever on the internet. So that's why we did it that way. So this month we're focused in on mindset for our Substack, and it's really mindset for ourselves. So if we consider our Substacks as a home for our writing, photography, connections, community, paid subscribers, and the money side, there can be just a lot wrapped up with how we feel when we come to Substack. So the first exercise we're going to do is we're going to go onto our own Substacks, and I'm going to give you 5 minutes to just literally free range. Like, you go onto your Substack, where do you want to go? Do you want to go on notes? Do you want to read something that you missed at the weekend? Do you want to check your statistics? Do you want to check your dashboard? Do you want to carry on a post? You've only got 5 minutes, but I want you to just go where you want to go, and then you can share with me where you ended up and, most importantly, how you felt when you went there. So total free reign. I'll put it in the chat so you're really clear what to do, but just 5 minutes free reign on Substack. Let's go. Okay, so that's 5 minutes. So my 5 minutes involved going onto Substack, checking the 7 notifications that I had and the one direct message, um, clicking on somebody's note, and then being like, okay, that's enough now. I went into the post that I've already got scheduled for noon, and I did some edits for the remaining 3 minutes that I had. So those 2 minutes just moving between different bits that Substack are telling me this is what you need to look at. That's 2 minutes, right? And then 3 minutes of editing. Now, it's not that one's worth more than the other, but I just think we're in that space where we really need to recognize how much time Substack can suck from us and come to the platform with intention. So I'd be fascinated to know what you did with your 5 minutes, how you felt, what cropped up for you with all of that. If you want to put it in the chat, and I'll move us on to the next exercise. One of the things that I felt was really important to hone in on, it's really difficult to articulate, but I'll absolutely try my best. So when people first come to Substack, they can't help but have some sort of pre-existing conditions about what the platform is and can be for them. So we have existed on the internet and we have used the internet. We've been on our websites, we've been blogging, we've been on social media. And sometimes when we are given a new space to be on, there's a whole load of stuff that we kind of almost need to scrumple up, get rid of, put in the fire before we even know where to start. Because if we're bringing all of our experience of the internet to understand how we're supposed to show up on Substack, we're kind of missing out. So the next thing that I want you to do is just note down in your notebook any preconceived ideas that you might have had about coming to the platform. So for those of you that are new here, this will be very fresh, but for others, I think it'll still be really worth doing. So it's about, okay, like I need to read other people's pieces. I need to comment on X number of pieces. I need to be on Substack notes. I need to publish regularly. What are the things, the beliefs that you hold now that you think you need to plug into your Substack? Because within that list, there is definitely some things that we can just get rid of straight away. So that's the next one. Let me put it in the chat and then I'll speak to some of the things that you're putting in while you're doing that. So what are the beliefs the internet at large has taught us we are bringing to our Substack? So it could be anything, it could be like, well, I've got to get my logo sorted first, like absolutely everything. And whether you believe it's true or not, just get it all written down. And we'll have just 2-3 minutes on. Okay, so what came up for you there, guys? Pop it in the chat because then we can just keep going with this. But what things were you bringing from your external experiences off Substack to Substack? What beliefs? what ways of being, what things that you feel like you need to check off before you can kind of launch properly, anything like that that cropped up for you. There's some really cool stuff in the chat about what you guys used your 5 minutes for. 5 minutes isn't long, isn't it? But it's kind of long enough, like if you set that sort of timer. Love that people are like going back to read a post. So Ingrid says the internet has told me that I'm only allowed to be one thing, the importance of having a niche, staying on brand, etc. Cheyenne says the idea that you need to be authentic but also polished or perfect. Yeah. Yeah, I totally resonate with that. One of the things that was really lovely for me showing up on Creatively Conscious on Substack was I named it after my business because it just felt easy. It just felt the most easy step to take to say, okay, like this is my Substack. It's also the same name as my business. And I thought I could just change that in time and it stayed the same. Once I'd done that, it was really like, okay, if it's the name of my business, what is it that I want to talk about under this topic? And one of the things that I did in the first year was have some guest posts on a topic of big dreams and quiet ambition. And curating those guest posts taught me so much about what it meant to invite other people into my publication, to set questions that I thought would be answered well, to set up the formatting and do that whole thing of kind of making it look the way I wanted it to look. And it took me out of the writing seat. So it was almost that gift of kind of going, it's going to be curated and fit with my publication, but it doesn't have to rely on my writing. And I knew that it was going to get more eyes on it. So it almost kind of like tricked me into feeling safe in my own publication because the people I was featuring were sharing their work and their words with their audience, both on Substack and across social media. So if you're feeling kind of nervous about really kind of finding where your voice fits, sometimes it can be really helpful to kind of go, okay, like if I did invite a series of guest posts, what would that look like? If I did one a season, if I did one a month, what would that look like? And it's just a question. It's all just a question. You know, you can do what you feel like doing, but that was something that worked really well for me. So Hilda's saying, I think I need to publish consistently and at least 500 words per post. And regarding Substack, I need to do more with notes. So these are all things that we definitely bring to the table, but also things that we can discount because if we are bringing absolutely everything that we believe and think about running a successful whatever Instagram account, blog, monetized blog, lead magnet, you know, whatever it is, because Substack can be all of those things, podcast, video podcast, it's too much. So we're just going to get overwhelmed with all the shoulds instead of being very intentional with, okay, it's Monday. What is my formula for Substack on Mondays? What do I do on Mondays? Well, you know that you have the chat open for asking questions on a Monday or the call here. So that's the first thing. Then what does a Tuesday look like? Is a Wednesday offline? Is a Thursday the date that you publish? So you can work into what you feel like is the most important thing to bring to your Substack and then kind of reverse engineer it and kind of go, okay, well then what does a week look like? What does a month look like if I zoom out of that? I like that it's about fully formed, polished, edited, grammatically correct writing. Oh, it isn't about it. Yeah, Rachel's saying, I like that it isn't about fully formed, polished, edited, grammatically correct writing. So when I had my 5 minutes and I went on Creatively Conscious, the changes that I made in those edits, I really like them, but it was scheduled. It was going to go anyway. So if I hadn't have had those 5 minutes, it still would have gone. And there's something in the scheduling of a post that somehow bypasses my inner like perfectionist. So I could have got stuck in the, oh, well, I'll just read it one more time. And then, you know, a whole new paragraph would have come out. And then I would have been like, oh, is it too long now? Should I put another image in? You know, it's just never ending. So scheduling it and going, okay, I publish there every Sunday or every Monday, depending on the topic, just really helps me to go, there's a space to fill and a time slot to make that I've promised myself and the people that are subscribed, let's do that. So if you want to play with that scheduling tool and, you know, you've got your, maybe it's a Pomodoro timer. So that's the 25-minute timer and the 5-minute break. Now, everybody takes different amounts of time to write a piece of polished writing. Well, they feels polished. So some people might take that full hour. So the 25, the 5-minute break, and then another round. For other people, that might be enough to get a draft out, but they want to sit with it for another week. getting used to what your creative process is, but also then come into it where it's like, this is going to be published or it's just going to be a forever draft. So being really clear, is this just me getting everything out onto the page, or is this something that I'm going to work to publish within a cadence? So Lauren says, I've got to move my mailing list over. I've got to have a clear message. I've got to engage more and post more on notes. So the mailing list thing, I waited 6 months because I just figured, well, there's nothing spoiling. I've got time to play around. I've got time to meet new people. I've got time to figure out what it is that I want to do. And then within the 6 month period, it felt scary for sure, but I knew exactly what I was doing. It was very clear. So I sent my monthly, it was called Notes from the Sea, and it was a monthly email at the start of every month. And I still sent it during using MailChimp when I had Substack. And then I realized, oh no, I'll just put this within Substack. So all I was saying to them was, I've moved this to Substack now. So that was the invitation. Sometimes the identity of a mailing list, is its very own thing away from Substack. So I have one that is just for my product-based emails. So if someone signs up for a masterclass or a course, they end up on a list that is outside of Substack. And I'll never put the Substack people in there, and I'll never put the product people in Substack. They can kind of obviously go in and out as they choose, but I'm not going to do that because I want to be able to say to people, here's this thing for sale, and not have to overcomplicate it in my brain. So that would definitely be the bonus for having the two ways with things, the exploration and then the kind of very clear, this is the thing for sale, this is the thing you get for free, whatever that is. So definitely explore that a bit, Lauren, and see what comes up with all of that. So Kate says, I've brought the belief it's about the interaction. We need to comment, read, share, like, and post our own notes regularly. I love this because when I first started on Substack, there was no notes. There was no notes. It didn't exist. It literally came in last April. And I remember at the time I was on holiday and I was like, this is going to change everything. Like, I had no idea what the change was going to be. I just knew it was going to change everything. And the main change is a behavioral change. So the main change is like the peacocking, you know, the self-promotion. They're like, okay, I'm in the arena, I'm out. This is what I've got to sell. This is why I want you to come over. But because of the nature of how we'd all been using Substack, there's still that more gentle way of cheerleading, supporting each other's work, sharing, restacking, all of that gorgeous stuff. There's definitely something about just being in a space that kind of encourages reciprocal gratitude. And that was what I saw when I went on. So I saw a note that I was interested in, and I had a lovely message to read. So it was a nice experience within my body. And that's what I really want to kind of get into before we close the class. When we go online and we have all of the portals open to us and all of the notifications firing off, things can happen where we're almost kind of that becomes the new normal. And it's not to say that we kind of were looking for that, but there can be part of us, and you'll have to observe this in yourself, where if there hasn't been a new email or a new notification, we feel like, oh, well, I need to do something to kind of create that, to make sure there's a little dopamine hit to go and grab from notifications or email. So one of the things that's been really helpful for me, and you know, people do say a lot like, how have you done all this work this year? Like, how have you done that? Is to just be very, very clear with the time that I'm spending, and also cut the notifications completely. So there's no notifications on my phone. There's no email on my phone, apart from Luma, actually, which I need to turn off. It was nice getting all those pings this morning. And then when I go onto Substack, I almost just blend that stuff into the background, because I open Substack with intention. I know what I'm going to do, what I'm there for. So if it's a Monday and I'm circling back in to answer your questions, that's what I go onto Substack for. And then once I've done that piece of work, I'll then check how long it's taken. And if there's still time in my mind of what else I need to get done that day to check the other notifications, then I do. The best thing that I can advise you to do is to write your own kind of workflow for a week on Substack. And when I put the replay up, I'm going to do like an example of that. And you'll know yourself if you're saying, oh, it's hard, you know, it's hard, I need to get my mojo back. Well, how do we work that into your week? How are you going to feel creatively inspired? Is that a walk in nature? Is that some journaling? Is that reading over some old stuff? Like, where do we get that from? So that you can just feel a little bit more aligned and embodied with what it is that you're here to do. If the community element energizes you, then that's great. But the community element can also take away. So it's kind of that balance, isn't it, of working out, is this going to be a beautiful thing to do today? Or actually, do I just need to be in my cocoon to write? So that's what we'll do. Oh, so Susan's saying this is a really good point, and this happened to me. So I keep changing the day I plan to post on Substack, and then I end up procrastinating and not posting it all that week. So with Creatively Conscious, because I've got the 2 publications, I'd done some scheduling and I ended up having a Sparkle post and a Creatively Conscious go out at exactly the same time. And I was like, oh, when you just, because it's like 2 different parts of my brain. So then I just got really, really strict on how the flow would work. And I made sure that what I do now with Creatively Conscious is I batch them. So I'll sit and write those posts at the start of the month, and then I'll edit them throughout the month. So it's 4 posts a month, right? So I'll just sit and write them. And even if I've got the heading and the first paragraph and that's all I've got, I'll just do that within like an allotted hour and a half. Usually I give myself to do that. And so with Sparkle, I reverse engineer it around your members' calls. So once I have the dates for the members' calls, I'll then put those in first. I'll know that I want to write to you the day before to remind you and like tell you about the focus. And then everything else flows from there. So I've started doing the focus where there's an intention for the month. So this month is mindset focused. So then all of my posts, if they're going out to free subscribers, are around that topic. So that makes it a little bit easier. If you were to set a monthly intention for your Substack and bring your community into that monthly intention, there's only 12 in a year. So go back to the content planning party that I did in last month's call set and have a think about that, because it can be a real anchor for our words and it's less of a blank page. So some of us thrive with a totally blank page, others need a little heading to like work within. So that might help. Good. Okay. Good, good, good. Right. So we're at 10:30 now. So what I'm going to do is, just before we go, I'm just going to hold space for you to just write your little workflow for this week for Substack. So are you going on every day? Are you going on your phone? Are you going, are you going on online? What are you doing with your Substack? When are you doing your reading time? So what you'll need to do is just grab a piece of paper like this, magical pink Post-its, and then I'm going to do a little column for the app and a little column for the website. Now, what I do on the app is I do my reading on the app, and I do my reading in the evenings, unless someone drops a bomb and I think, oh, I'll read that at lunchtime and I'm excited to read it. So the app is where I do my reading, and then the website is where I do my work. So the blurry line comes for me when I get notifications on the app when I'm in my reading slot. And so what I've started doing now is I've turned 4G off. So if I'm out and about with my phone, Substack literally will not work. So it at least gives me that anchor to kind of know, okay, if I'm at home, am I working or am I reading? Like if I make that conscious decision to work on my phone and there's some notifications that I can very easily like get through, am I giving myself just a little bit of time to do that? Or am I going, okay, I'm going to have to like switch the laptop on and do 20 minutes of work. So work out Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, what you're doing, and start with when you're going to publish. So are you publishing this week, or are you just working on drafts? Where's the publishing coming in? What day is that going out? And I'll just hold space for you for a few minutes, and then I'm going to nip off and do a co-writing day, which is very exciting. Okay, if you're finding that difficult, you can also reverse engineer it again by asking yourself what day you want to be offline or online less. So on Wednesdays every other week, I see a therapist. So it's a good day for me to just have the day off, so to just strip back what I'm doing. So I've readjusted my publishing schedule because I realized that this was my week for therapy. I've also questioned, and I have been questioning this for a while, if I can have Fridays off and then work the weekend. So I love to do a Saturday thread, but it gets so busy. And I feel like even with Mika and Susan's help, I almost need to hold space for just in case anybody kind of comes in who's like not meant to be in the community, or if anything happens. So it's like that kind of nervous system red alert. So this Saturday I didn't post a thread, which meant that I had no notifications and nothing to work on Substack. So I'm really trying to lean into what I can do to be present on the weekends and keep joyful growth going, but also give myself that downtime. So I've left that blank until I figure that out, but I will share it in the replay with you all. So I'll say thank you so, so much for being here. If you have any general questions, the Substack chat is open 24/7. So usually what will happen is one of the members of the community will get back to you before I do. Mika also keeps an eye on those questions, and she's really, really good at Substack tech and answering questions. And I want to thank you all for showing up for each other, not only in the chat, but today. I thought it was really, really beautiful that we could do that. And a reminder, if you're watching the replay, we're going to do that in the next session as well. So the last journaling prompt is how not to ghost yourself on Substack, using some of the prompts that I have shared today. Answer that question for yourself. What is coming up for you? How are you ghosting your writing? How are you ghosting what you want to do to show up in the world? How is comparison creeping in? How are you allowing your filter of other people's work to stop you in your tracks? And if you are, guys, unsubscribe, like get those feeds out of your ether. Keep your echo chamber to be cheerleading and supportive. Keep that post place where you would post your Substack as the place that you open up. Bookmark that. Don't bookmark your dashboard. Don't bookmark notes. Bookmark that. Get to that place. Write the work that you want to put out in the world. And have a beautiful week. Thank you again. I'm just checking I'm not missing anything. Okay, everyone's saying thanks. And I shall see you really, really soon. So with the replay, I'll post a workflow and we'll talk about that some more in the comments. Have a beautiful week on Substack. Thanks, everyone. See you soon.